Finally, Bill O'Reilly has outed himself. Bill O'Reilly has stated out of his own mouth that he is a white supremacist. He is also a racist, okay? Bill O'Reilly has no clue about the Electoral College and what it is and why it was formed. For those of you who are not aware, the United States is not a democracy. It's a republic. The Electoral College, if nothing else, is a fascist, let me repeat that, is a fascist group formed by the Constitution in order to take democracy away from the people. In a democracy, one man, one vote, majority rules, that is a democracy. The Electoral College was formed in order to negate that. But apparently Bill O'Reilly wasn't aware of that fact. Here's a clip from the Lawrence O'Donnell show, which is going to illustrate just that.
Here we are the day after the Electoral College met, and Bill O'Reilly weighing in on the Electoral College, and he clearly has no idea how the Electoral College was initially designed. Of course, no one was allowed to vote directly for the president because the Founding Fathers simply didn't believe that voters off the street were smart enough to do that. And the Electoral College was, of course, supposed to be a smarter group of people, learned men, as they saw it, who could make that decision. Let's listen to now Bill O'Reilly's entry into the Electoral College debate.
Newspapers like the New York Times and the LA Times have editorialized to get rid of the Electoral College. They well know that neutralizing the largely white rural areas in the Midwest and South will assure liberal politicians get power and keep it. Talking Points believes this is all about race. The left sees white privilege in America as an oppressive force that must be done away with. Therefore, white working class voters must be marginalized. And what better way to do that than center the voting power in the cities? Left wants power taken away from the white establishment. They want a profound change in the way America is run. Taking voting power away from the white precincts is the quickest way to do that.
All right, folks. Let me give you a little bit more information. There are approximately 200 million registered voters in the United States, and that is an all-time high. Of those 200 million voters, approximately 137 million people cast a vote in the previous election. That rounds out to about 66%, okay? About 65 million people voted for Clinton, 62 million plus voted for Trump, and 5 million voted for the Libertarian candidate and the Green Party candidate. That's Johnson and Stein, okay? Now, of that 200 million registered voters who are eligible to vote, approximately 68% of those voters are white. They are white. The other 32% of voters are quote-unquote people of color, black, Hispanic, etc. If the Electoral College is abolished, the white people, which I guess the total number would be 136 million white voters, would far, and I do mean far, outnumber the voters that are black, Hispanic, etc. So for Bill to make the statement that abolishing the Electoral College would diminish the power of the white establishment, that could not be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, it would probably increase the amount of power for the white establishment, specifically because it will be one man, one vote. So a person voting in California, their vote would count just as much as a person voting in the Rust Belt. So again, here's Bill O'Reilly, doesn't know shit, making statements that have no basis in fact.
College does nothing but redistribute and imbalance voting power geographically. It makes a vote in Wyoming worth 20 times more than a vote in California. It just makes one person, one vote a parody. It's just a joke. Zerlina O'Reilly sees this in nothing but racial terms.
Well, what's interesting is that in the beginning of his rant, I kind of agreed with him because it is about race. Because if you look at the history of why the Electoral College was created, it was in part, yes, to make it more fair, but it was to make it more fair for Southern slave-holding folks who live down in the Confederate States. And so I think the problem that we have here is emphasizing the importance of the white working class voter and doing that at the expense of other working class voters, black and Latino voters. We never talk about black working class voters. We never talk about Latino working class voters. And I think Democrats and certainly the country at large needs to understand who is working and that it's not just white people in Oklahoma that are working and struggling. It's people everywhere. And that message that Democrats and politicians need to put forward needs to resonate with those groups. But the Electoral College is certainly an outdated institution that comes from really troubling beginnings.
And David, Republicans like O'Reilly defending the Electoral College, they will talk about neutralizing rural areas instead of making all votes equal. That's all we're talking about when you're talking about getting rid of the Electoral College. Making all votes equal, making those rural votes equal to urban votes, as opposed to 20 times more powerful than urban votes.
I don't think I can put it better than you once again, but when I was listening to O'Reilly do that rant tonight, I was thinking about South Africa, talking about protecting the white establishment. I mean, O'Reilly and folks at Fox are always, yelling at the left and others for putting things in racial terms. I can't think of anything more racial than saying that, people are protecting or trying to attack a white establishment. I mean, a lot of populists go after the establishment, but they don't call it a white establishment. Sounds like he was defending apartheid. I mean, there are a lot of low moments for Bill O'Reilly, but this has to be at least in the top 100.
We're going to take a break here. Zerlina Max.
All right, so again, as far as Bill O'Reilly is concerned, white nationalism, white supremacy, white establishment is good, and diversity is bad. So we need to get rid of diversity and go with the program that's already established, which is white nationalism, white privilege.